This audio recording is intended to facilitate the gradual release of confidential documents pertaining to a top-secret exchange program where 12 U.S. military personnel went to the planet Serpo, which is located in the Zeta Reticuli star system between the years 1965 and 1978. Release 29, The Yellow Book and Universe Explained, 16th June 2008. Update. Anonymous comments on the red and yellow books and provides never-before-published specific step-by-step instructions on how to access the yellow book. What the Ebens know about our universe and their views on the Big Bang and inflationary theories of cosmology. Reveal the name of the actual UFO control study group which completely manages the UFO subject matter, and it ain't MJ-12. Date Thursday, August 9th, 2007, 7:53 a.m. From Anonymous. Subject, The Yellow Book and Red Book. From Project Serpo posting number 19. The Yellow Book or Bible is the aliens' history of our universe written by the aliens themselves, as well as their interactions and involvement with Earth's development evolution. It was brought to Earth and presented to the U.S. government at the famous Holloman Air Force Base landing in April 1964 by female EBE number 2, which was also translated by her. The Red Book. The Red Book is an extremely thick, very detailed account summary written and compiled by the U.S. government on UFO investigations dating from 1947 to the present day. This orange-brownish book is updated every 5 years and also contains some crossover information from the Yellow Book. Project Serpo. Steven Spielberg's 1977 film Close Encounters of the Third Kind is based on the famous Holloman landing as well as the human ET exchange depicted at the very end with 10 men and 2 women who are shown embarking on the alien spacecraft. The Yellow Book was provided by the Ebens. It isn't exactly a book. It is a block of material approximately 2.5 inches thick and transparent in nature and appearance. The reader looks at the transparent surface and suddenly words and pictures appear. It is an endless series of historical stories and photographs of our universe, the Eben planet, and their former home world, and other interesting stories about the universe. It also contains a historical narrative and various accounts about Earth's history and distant past. To this day, I am one of the very few people who has actually seen and read the Yellow Book. I can assure you that Robert Collins has not ever seen, viewed, nor read any part of it. His name does not appear on the Briefing Control Access roster. As has been commented on by others, it would take a lifetime to read it and another lifetime to understand it. Number 1. Reference. The Yellow Book. It is an 8 by 11 inch object and approximately 2.5 inches thick that is constructed of a clear, heavy fiberglass type material. The border of the book is a bright yellow, hence the Yellow Book. When you place the book close to your eyes, you will begin seeing words and images flashing before you. Depending on the particular language you are thinking, that particular language will appear. So far, the USG has identified 80 different languages. Pictures also appear. The Yellow Book tells the story of the Ebens' lives, their exploration of the universe, their planet, their societal life, and other aspects, including the Ebens' longtime relationship with Earth. It tells of their first visit to Earth about 2,000 years ago. It displays Earth as it was in those days. It also shows an Eben who took the appearance of an Earth human, Jesus Christ. According to the Yellow Book, this Earth human established religion on Earth, Christianity, and posted the first alien ambassador on Earth. The Yellow Book goes on and on and on and on. I've spent 12 hours a day for 3 consecutive days and still never reached the end. I don't think anyone knows how long it goes on or that there is any way to find the end of the book. There is no known end to the Yellow Book. I understand the record is about 22 hours, which was done by the President's scientific advisor under the blank administration. Also, there was no known way to stop reading in one particular place, put down the yellow book, and then resume at the same place. Once you put down the yellow book and pick it up again later, the book starts from the beginning. Although the book can somehow determine the language of the person who is reading it, it cannot determine the uniqueness of that person. In other words, the problem with reading the yellow book is that one must start all over from the very beginning once you put it down. If it took you 12 hours to reach page 564, events, and then you put it down, you would have to start all over at the very first words and images displayed during your first read, and only once you passed the 12-hour mark would new information you had not seen in the previous sitting would now appear. As I wrote earlier, the yellow book goes back to around 2,000 years. However, I have not viewed the entire yellow book, and I don't think anyone else has either. It may have some view images histories that go back even further than 2,000 years BC. Number 2, reference our universe from the yellow book. As for the universe, according to the Ebens, the universe was created in a split second, similar to our Big Bang theory, and expands over a period of billions of years. The Ebens don't refer to years as our years. They speak of time, but not in terms of an event clock. So to help us better understand, the Ebens detail our years as a point of reference. According to the Ebens, our universe expands for about 25 billion years. It then contracts back to its beginning shape. Once the universe contracts, it expands again, repeating the entire process. This is considered and referred to as the lifespan of the universe by the Ebens, inflation theory. The Red Book was written by the U.S. government. It contains volumes of information we have gathered regarding our contacts with extraterrestrial life forms. The first volumes begin in 1947. The last volume was started in 2005. The information you published in Serpo posting number 19 regarding these books was factually correct. In the emails you forwarded to me, what Robert Collins claims about the Red Book being updated continuously or when needed is somewhat true, but needs to be placed in proper context. What actually occurs is that as UFO reports come in deemed credible by the reporting government agency, be it military or civilian, they are routed to a special section of our government for a follow-up analysis. After that vetting process is complete, they are then sent to a special group, Unknown-6, which then places it into final review for possible inclusion into the Red Book. Victor, I know all of this because you see I have served as the editor for several editions of the Red Book and have written and delivered the executive summary for several sitting U.S. presidents, so I know of what I speak. And when I say editor, it is not in the sense of the word you are familiar with. I do not correct nor review any of the hundreds, if not thousands of reports which are distilled into the final 5-year report for grammar and punctuation, as you've done with the Project Serpo material. I only present and include the most important, compelling cases into the Red Book, which includes an analysis by me and others of any trends, types of sightings, human contacts with the ETEs, and any national security concerns our government or planet might have. My part is to write the executive summary and present it to your current sitting President of the United States. If there was a national security matter that presented itself, that 5-year published review of the Red Book would be interrupted, but that has been unnecessary as we have a good relationship with our visitors. And another point, you asked if the Bush administration claims of stopping post-9/11 terrorist attacks was true. What I can definitively tell you is that since 2001, based on the NSA surveillance program, our government has successfully stopped 16 planned terrorist attacks aimed at the USA. Every single plan was initiated from an overseas location. Anonymous. The enormous timeline of our universe. 1 billion equals 1 billion, or 10 to the 9th power equals 1 followed by 9 zeros. AB equals time after the Big Bang. MYA equals millions of years ago. YA equals years ago. Note, the first number is after the Big Bang occurred. The second number is when Earth's timeline began. 0 to 13.7 billion years ago equals Big Bang. 10 to the 35th to 10 to the 33rd seconds equals inflationary period. 10 to the 33rd second equals birth of quarks and antiquarks as they annihilate each other after leaving a slight excess of quarks. 10 to the 5th second equals quarks combine to form protons and neutrons. 10 to the 3rd second equals formation of hydrogen and helium atoms. 1 to 3 minutes equals formation of light elements up to boron. 370,000 years ago, emission of CMB, cosmic microwave background, the universe becomes transparent. 200 million years ago to 13.5 billions of years ago is the birth of first stars, reionization. 3 billion years ago to 10.4 billion years ago is the formation of mature galaxies, quasars, and the oldest stars in the Milky Way galaxy. 9.1 billion years after the Big Bang to 5.6 billion years ago is when our solar system, including Earth, are formed. 9.9 billion years ago after the Big Bang to 3.8 billion years ago is when our first fossils are formed. 13.4 billion years ago after the Big Bang to 320 million years ago, we see our first reptiles. 13.5 billion years ago to 200 million years ago, Africa splits from America, the dinosaurs disappear. 13.6 billion years ago after the Big Bang to 65 million years ago is when the end of the dinosaurs and small mammals diversify. 13.695 billion years ago to 5 million years ago, primates including first apes evolve. 13.6998 billion years ago after the Big Bang to 195,000 years ago, Homo sapiens appear. 13.6999 billion years ago after the Big Bang to 10,000 years ago, end of the last ice age, dawn of the modern world. 13.7 billion years ago after the Big Bang to the present day, June 2008. 14.7 billion years to 1 billion years hence, Earth becomes uninhabitable. 18.7 billion years after the Big Bang to 5 billion years hence, the sun becomes a red giant, the destruction of Earth. 23.7 billion years to 10 billion years hence is when the sun becomes a white dwarf. 10 to the 14th power, or 1 followed by 14 zeros, a 100,000 billion years hence is when the galaxy and star formation cease. 10 to the 36th power years equals 50% of all protons have decayed. 1 undecillion, which is 10 to the 36th power. 10 to the 40th power years equals all proteins are gone and black holes now dominate. 10 to the 100 power years equals black holes disintegrate. 1 Google equals 10 times 100 zeros to the power. 1 to the 150th power years equals photon age. The universe reaches extreme low energy state. Buddhism plus Hinduism plus Jainism plus the Billy Meyer Pleiadian contacts equals the universe now goes into an equally lengthy sleep cycle. Does it? The Big Bang Theory, how it evolved from an idea to scientific acceptance. A. Belgian astronomer, civil engineer, and Jesuit priest Georges-Henri Lemire, 1894 to 1966, is known as the father of the Big Bang. In the late 1920s, Lemire deduced that if the universe were expanding, then by going back in time, one would find that everything started from one point. He suggested that the universe had originated as a great cosmic egg, oblated spheroid, from a primordial atom which exploded and expanded outward. B. However, it was not until 1948 that Russian-born nuclear physicist George Gamow, 1904 to 1968, and his colleagues worked out the details of the universe's explosive origin during the 1950s. C. The term Big Bang was actually coined by one of the theory's strongest opponents, maverick English astrophysicist and cosmologist Fred Hoyle, 1915 to 2001, who believed that the universe was in a steady state of continuous expansion and creation of matter. Hoyle was also a vigorous proponent of panspermia, the notion that life came to Earth from outer space. After retirement, he became a leading popularizer of science. Hinduism, Yuga, Great Time Frames. Moderator's note, comments, and observations. But my inserting these great time frames contained within the Hindu faith, this should not suggest that I endorse these specific beliefs' time frames. Instead, what I am suggesting is that many religious scientific belief systems incorporate the idea of an expanding and contracting universe, inflation theory. This will also be presented in posting 29A through 1, which shows the scientific community in support of this, and then posting 29B, which conveys absolutely enormous time frames under the famous Billy Meyer Pleiadian contactee case. Whether it's the hundreds of thousands of years cited within the Hindu Yugas, the 25 billion years referenced by the Ebens, the 13 to 7, 15 billion years our Earth scientists estimate, or the 311 trillion, 40 billion years claimed by the Pleiadians, they all have one recurring theme in common. They all emphasize and subscribe to the belief of an expanding and contracting universe, inflation, and for some, a universe that even sleeps before expanding again. Question: what do you make of what EBE-1 allegedly said about mankind being genetically altered throughout time and that they establish religions and Christ in particular on our planet? An idea that was popularized in the 1989 bestseller The Gods of Eden by William Bramley. Anonymous: if one reads the Yellow Book, The True and Correct History of Mankind as relayed by the ETEs, and reads between the lines, one would come away with the thought and clear impression that the Ebens had something to do with Jesus Christ, or possibly Jesus was one of them. Also, if you look at some events that are shown in the Yellow Book, remember, there are no dates shown in the Yellow Book. You can connect some incidents, such as Fatima, etc., with an Eben landing. Moderator's note: did the Ebens plant or seed the personages of Jesus Christ as alleged in the famous Project Aquarius briefing documents? I possess a copy. See the entire briefing document reproduced word for word which follows, and see if you think the dots connect. Project Aquarius briefing document, above top secret, magic eyes only. Top secret, Orcon. Most governmental documents pertaining to UFO sighting incidents and governmental policies, including Project Blue Book, have been released to the public under FOIA or under various other release programs. MJ12 felt the remaining documents and information not relating to Project Aquarius, but relating to technological facts regarding alien medical matters and the fact that an alien was captured alive and survived 3 years under secrecy, cannot be released to the public for fear the information would be obtained by SHIS. There was other information obtained from EBE that was deemed sensitive and not releasable to the public. Notably, Project Aquarius Volume 9, which pertains to tracing the aliens' first visitation of Earth back some 5,000 years. EBE reported that 2,000 years ago, his ancestors planted a human creature on Earth to assist the inhabitants of Earth in developing a civilization. This information was only vague, and the exact identity or background information of this Homo sapien was not obtained. Undoubtedly, if this information was released to the public, it would cause a worldwide panic. MJ3 has developed a plan that would allow release of Project Aquarius Volumes 1 through 3. The release program calls for a gradual release of information over a period of time in order to condition the public for future disclosures. Attachment 5 of this briefing contains certain guidelines for future public releases. Posting 6 by Anonymous, 14th November 2005. You will be honored one day for providing assistance in our release of information. Many thanks. I do not feel that a dialogue or argument with non-believers would benefit our cause. They have a right to criticize our information, but none of them will ever be involved in the final process. November 2005. Flashback to Project Serpo, posting number 5. The group called MJ12, which wasn't really the group that controlled the information, but for the sake of clarity, we'll just call them MJ12. The actual name of the group who controlled, managed, and oversaw the Serpo project was redacted. Current DIA officials have very little knowledge of this subject matter. However, we will move ahead with our plans. Our main supporter is Redacted, a former director of Redacted. He is in our corner and will support our gradual release. Public Acclamation Program Plan. Saved email message from Anonymous. Date Sunday, May 18, 2008, 11:51 a.m. PDT +3. To Victor GM at webtv.net. Subject, UFO Control Study Group. Victor, for your years of dedicated service to our cause and mission, I will now give you the name of the actual group that controls the UFO ET subject matter. Additionally, I will also give you the name of a highly classified operation and ongoing project that the UFO community and general public is completely unaware of. See Project Serpo posting number 30. Contrary to the public's perception regarding U.S. government secrecy and their supposed inability to keep anything secret, quite the opposite is true. I consulted with one of our DIA 6 group members who was a DoD military historian from the early 50s until his retirement. He astutely pointed out that from August 1942, when the Manhattan Project to develop the atomic bomb was started under the control of the U.S. Corps of Engineers during the Roosevelt administration, not a single leak occurred among the 125,000 people assigned to work on it at the project's 4 main facilities: Hanford, Washington, the Clinton Engineer Works at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, the basement of the unused football stadium at the University of Chicago, and the Los Alamos National Laboratory, which was built in 1943 on a secluded mesa and headed by Robert Oppenheimer. You may release this name to the public, but only with the stipulations and conditions I have cited at the end of this piece and the classified project I will give you details about. And now for the name of the group which actually controls, disseminates, sets policy, and makes presidential recommendations on the UFO subject matter. Number 1. The name of the UFO control group is called Redacted 6. That is an acronym for Redacted, 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 and Redacted 6, which is just a misnomer to keep people from asking too many questions when the word is mentioned. Number 2. Redacted 6 was always present, dating back to about 1966. When too much publicity was directed towards MJ-12, the program was switched back to Redacted 6. This occurred in about 1988. Number 3. The Redacted 6 group has custody of all the yellow and the red book items. Number 4. Certain people have access to the yellow-red books. All access is controlled by the Redacted 6 group. I'm sure the president has access. Because so many in the UFO community claim to be in the know or loop, released the name of the UFO control group in the fall 2008 when we resumed the Reagan presidential UFO briefings. Let me know if any of your readers get it right. I'm very curious. I give you my approval to release this information to the public within the stipulations, restrictions, and parameters I have provided. Once again, I thank you for your dedicated service to our cause. Be patient as we are tending to some minor legal problems on future releases with the DoD. Do you realize that 26 people on your list are current and retired USG senior intelligence personnel? You also have 2 recipients from the White House on your list. You are famous. In the meantime, I am taking much of the summer off for a well-deserved vacation in the Seychelles, which I was given the idea for from one of the hosts on the Today Show. I will be out of contact until September 2008, as will the other members of our group, most of whom will be vacationing in the Caribbean and elsewhere. And for you, try and stay healthy and out of hospitals. Anonymous. Referring to host Matt Lauer of the Today Show and his annual Where in the World is Matt Lauer segment, original air date was Friday, May 2, 2008 for the 5th and final stop of his 5-day world tour. The Republic of Seychelles is located approximately 1,000 miles east of Kenya and has a population of 81,000 living on the 115 islands that comprise 176 square miles of land. The Seculaes are rich in myth and legend and in the past has a haven for pirates and traders. It is home to 200,000 plus giant land tortoises. Fast fact, the Seculaes are not volcanic in origin. Rather, they are the peak of a huge underwater continental plateau that separated from India about 65 million. By coincidence, this is when a large asteroid is believed to have struck the Earth and caused the extinction of the dinosaurs at the end of the Cretaceous period. See Project Serpo posting number 30. Handy reference guide. Scientific notations on enormously large and infinitesimally small numbers. 1 million, 1 billion, 1 trillion, 1 quadrillion, 1 quintillion, 1 sextillion, 1 septillion, 1 octillion, 1 nonillion, 1 decillion, 1 undecillion, 1 duodecillion, 1 tridecillion, 1 quadrillion, 1 quindecillion, 1 sextillion, 1 septendecillion, 1 octodecillion, 1 novemdecillion, 1 vigintillion, 1 Google, 1 Googleplex. Direct online instruction. Scientific notation is used to express very large or very small numbers. Example, the mean distance of Pluto from the Sun is about 3,670,000,000 miles. Using scientific notation, the number can be expressed as 3.67 times 10th to the 9th power. In writing scientific notation for large numbers, follow these rules. The first factor must be greater than or equal to 1 and less than 10. The second factor must be a power of 10 expressed in exponential form. To write numbers with exponents, count the number of places to the right of the first non-zero number in standard form. Use the number of places as the exponent. In the case of 3,670,000,000, the first non-zero number is 3. Since 9 digits are to the right of the 3, 9 is the exponent. Therefore, 3,670,000,000 equals 3.67 times 10 to the 9th, or 3.67 times 10 to the 9th power. In writing very small numbers, follow these rules. The first factor must be greater than or equal to 1 and less than 10. The second factor must be a negative power of 10 expressed in exponential form. To write numbers with a negative exponent, count the number of places to the right of the decimal point up to and including the first non-zero number. Use the number of places as the negative exponent. Example, 0.00079 equals 7.9 times 10 to the 4th power, 10 to the negative 4th power. Decimeter equals 1/10 or 10 to the negative 1 power. Centimeter equals 1/100th or 10 to the negative 2nd power. Millimeter equals 1,000 or 10 to the negative 3rd power. Micrometer equals 1/millionth or 10 to the negative 6th power, micron. Nanometer equals 1/billionth or 10 to the negative 9th power. Picometer equals 1/trillionth or 10 to the negative 12th power. Femtometer equals 1/quadrillionth or 10 to the negative 15th power, Fermi. Atometer equals 1/quintillionth or 10 to the negative 18th power. Zeptometer equals 1/sextillionth or 10 to the negative 21st power. Yoctometer equals 1/septillionth or 10 to the negative 24th power. Measurement of time, second. Time measurement defined 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, etc. As in the initial developmental stages of our universe, see previous section above entitled The Enormous Timeline of Our Universe. Second, It is the duration of 9,192,631,770 periods of radiation, corresponding to a specific transition of the cesium-133 atom. Nanosecond equals 1/1000th of a second. Microsecond equals 1/1,000,000th of a second. Millisecond equals 1,000th of a second. 60 seconds equals 1 minute. 60 minutes equals 1 hour. 24 hours equals 1 day. 7 days equals 1 week. 4 weeks equals about 1 month. 52 weeks equals 1 year. 30 days equals 1 calendar month varies. 12 month equals 1 year. 365 days equals 1 common year. Technically, a year equals 365 1/4 days. To keep the calendar accurate, an extra day is added every 4 years, resulting in a leap year. 366 days equals 1 leap year. 10 years equals 1 decade. 100 years equals 1 century. 1,000 years equals millennium. Time terms. Atomic time. Atomic clocks calculate time with extreme accuracy based on the natural resonant frequency of the cesium-133 atom. Daylight savings time. In the United States, standard time plus 1 hour. Daylight saving time seems to make the day last longer by an hour. Sidereal time, also known as astronomical time. This method of measurement uses the movement of the stars to calculate time. An average sidereal day is 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4.09 seconds long. Solar time, an outmoded measurement of time in which noon occurs when the sun is at its highest point over a given location. Of course, noon, and therefore time, varies from place to place. Note, this is the outmoded reference of time the Ebens use on planet Serpo. Standard time. Standard time, established 1883, divides the Earth into 24 time zones. Calculated on solar time, the base of the system is the zero meridian that passes through the Royal Greenwich Observatory at Greenwich, England. Time is measured east or west of this prime meridian according to the time zones. Other related scientific measurement terms. Astronomical unit, AU, equals 93 million miles, which is the average distance of the Earth from the Sun. Atmosphere, unit used to measure at sea level. 1 atmosphere equals 14.6952 pounds per square inch, or 2,116,102 laps per square foot, or 1.0332 kilograms per square centimeter, or 101,325 newtons per square meter. Dyne, the force needed to accelerate a 1 gram mass 1 centimeter per second squared. Horsepower, HP. Method number 1, the power in the FPS system, foot-pound-second system, needed to lift 550 pounds a distance of 1 foot in 1 second. Method number 2, the power needed to lift 33,000 pounds a distance of 1 foot in 1 minute. Method number 3, 745.7 watts or 42.41 British thermal units per minute, most often used in scientific usage. Light year, LY, equals 5,871,057,120,000 trillion miles, or 63,240 AU, which is the distance light travels in a vacuum in 1 year. Method, take the speed of light, about 186,170 to 186,282 miles per second, and then multiply it by 60 seconds in a minute, then 60 seconds in an hour, then 24 hours in a day, and then 365.25 days in a year equals 5,871,057,120,000 miles. Mach number, a ratio of the speed of a body airplane to the speed of sound in the Earth's atmosphere. Object speed of sound primarily used for airplane speed, about 1,088 feet per second. Newton, the force need to accelerate a 1 kilogram mass 1 meter per second squared. Parsec, a unit of distance used by professional astronomers to measure the vast stellar and galactic distances rather than light years, which is equal to the mean Earth-Sun distance equals 1 astronomical unit, AU, 206,265 AU, or 1.92 times 10 to the 13th power miles, or 3.2616 light years. 1 kiloparsec, kpc, equals 1,000 pc. 1 megaparsec equals 1 million pc. Pascal, unit used to measure pressure. 1 Pascal equals 1 Newton per square meter, or 0.020855 pounds per square foot. Pi equals 3.14159265 plus the ratio of the circumference of a circle to its diameter, usually rounded to 3.14. Poundo equals the force needed to accelerate a 1 pound mass 1 foot per second squared. 1 poundo equals 13,825.5 dynes. 1 poundo equals 0.138255 Newton. Speed of sound, usually placed at 1,088 feet per second. Speed versus velocity versus acceleration versus momentum. Speed, the ratio of the distance traveled by an object, regardless of its direction, to the time required to travel that distance. Speed is a measure of how quickly something is moving. This is the time that it takes to travel from one point to another divided by the distance traveled. Speed is expressed in units such as miles per hour or meters per second. Velocity, the speed and direction of motion of a moving body. Velocity is a vector quantity as it measures the direction of movement as well as its speed. Relative velocity, it is the velocity that one object has when viewed from another viewing object. Terminal velocity. When something is dropped and is pulled by gravity towards Earth, it accelerates as it falls until it reaches a velocity from which it can accelerate no further. This is called its terminal velocity. Terminal velocity occurs when the force of the air resistance against the falling object increases to the point where it equals the force of gravity pulling the object. Terminal velocity of an object depends on how much air resistance it experiences. It is not affected by its weight, but instead by its surface and the streamlining of its shape. Acceleration, the rate of change of the velocity of a moving body object. Acceleration, like velocity, is a vector quantity as in speeding up. Acceleration is measured in meters per second, seconds, or meters per second squared, meter divided by second squared. Momentum, it is calculated by multiplying the mass of an object by its velocity. The greater its mass, the greater its momentum to keep moving in one direction, unless a force acts upon it. Computer memory. Computer memory is based on bits and bytes. 1 megabyte of memory has the capacity of storing 1 million single letters. 8 bits equals 1 character, or 1 byte. 1 kilobyte equals 1,024 bytes, or 2 to the 10th power. 1 megabyte equals 1,048,576 bytes, or 2 to the 20th power. 1 gigabyte equals 1,073,741,082 bytes, or 2 to the 30th power. 1 terabyte equals 1,999,511,627,776, or 2 to the 40th power. 1 petabyte equals 1,125,899,906,842,624 bytes, or 2 to the 50th power. Note, terabyte databases are becoming more common, and petabyte barriers have been broken with the coming exabyte, zettabyte, yottabyte, and zerobyte databases, which have even greater storage capacity to eventually follow. Bibliography, Big Bang and Inflation Theories, Astronomy, General Editor Evan Ranpoff. Universe, the Definitive Visual Guide, Senior Editor Peter Francis. Bang, the Complete History of the Universe, by May Lintott and more. Discover Science Almanac, the Definitive Science Research, editors Brian Bunch and Jenny Sarr. The American Heritage Science Dictionary, executive editor Joseph P. Pickett. The Universal Book of Astronomy, From the Andromeda Galaxy to the Zone of Avoidance, by David Darling. The Handy Space Answer Book, editors Phyllis Engelberg and Diane L. Dupois. The Handy Science Answer Book, by the Science and Technology Department of the Carnegie Library of Pittsburgh, 2nd edition. General Reference, The Oxford Guide, American Military History, edited by John White Clay Chambers III. The Math Teacher's Book of List, by Judith and Gary Muschla, 2nd edition. The Science Teacher's Book of List, by Frances Barheit, M.A., and Dr. Paul W. Morgan. The Reading Teacher's Book of List, by Dr. Edward Fry and Jacqueline Kress, EDD. 1000 Questions and Answers, Nicola Baxter. Paradise on Earth, The Republic of Secales. The Illustrated World Atlas, cartographic consultants Dr. William Cartwright and Professor Michael P. Peterson. Timeless Wonders, Earth's Most Spectacular Place, by Robert J. Moore. All supporting documentation, written, researched, and compiled by Victor Martinez. And that is going to be the end of this video. If you like things like this, please give this video a thumbs up. Please share this video. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'll have more things like this. Take care.